Lyle steps off the bottom of the stairs and reaches the door to the passage which leads to the village. He looks around before opening the door. From what he can tell, nobody was following him. He takes out his keys, unlocking the door swiftly and swinging it open. Cold air blows out from the doorway into his face. He steps down the spiral staircase, closing the door behind him and locking it. The stairs are wet with cold water, and it makes him wish he had a pair of those shoes Richter has to wear. They probably wouldn't fit on his paws, though. Does he not have any shoes as a concept? Like, wolves don't need shoes ever? I feel like he's immediately encountering a situation where they would make shoes for in a kingdom where wolves live. Descending down the stairs, he reaches the bottom and begins to carefully make his way through the tunnel. Each step he takes becomes colder and colder, some of the puddles beneath him reacting to the movement, glowing bright blue like they always do. Once he reaches the trap door at the end, he unlocks it and pushes it up as far as his arms will let him. He lifts himself up the stairs and tries to let his eyes adjust to the light. It's snowing out right now, but each snowflake quickly melts before it can even touch the ground. Other than a thin layer of snow here and there, the vitality fire lanterns seem to be doing their job as always. He steps out of the small alley and into the village square. It's not as busy as it usually is, but people are still going about their day. For an obvious reason, everything feels more depressed now. It may just be his mood, though. There's a few people walking around and shopping for stuff. A couple of kids are playing by the fountain, one of them flipping a few coins into the water. John's outside the bakery, adding logs to the stove. Always a good, hard-working lad. The logs look like small branches when he grabs them. Lyle's ears perk up at the familiar sound of metal striking an anvil from within Eden's forge. Eden must have been working since dawn, because from the sound of it, every contraption and furnace in his forge is running. Lyle secures the satchel at his side and lifts the tarp in the doorway, his ears brushing at it as he ducks through the arch. The entire forge is suffocated in dry, hot air. Eden is bent over, poking at the inside of the furnace, his body shining with sweat. His apron is completely dirty, and all sorts of tools are thrown about the ground. He stands up and turns around, jumping a bit at the sight of Lyle.
Oh, that's me. Lyle? Quiet as always, I see.
Lyle rubs the back of his head while looking down at the ground.
I'm not trying to be.
Yeah, sure. Holler my name next time.
He sets down a fire poker and turns back around, wiping his paws with a rag.
How have you been? Yeah, I bet.
A long pause floats through the air, but before Lyle can get to the point, Eden speaks up again.
Such an awful thing to happen. I can only imagine how it's been affecting you. As much of a shock as it was, life still goes on for us folk outside the castle. Though, I can't help but feel a bit depressed lately.
He bites his lip while looking at his anvil. The top of it scratched and busted all over.
I also heard about who they said did it. The human fella that you've been following around. What was his name again?
Richter. Trust me, he didn't do it.
Eden shrugs his shoulders.
I hope he didn't. He seemed nice. But enough about that. What can I do for you? Don't tell me winter's dull again. You can't have done that much training.
No, it's not that. I wanted to ask you a few questions.
About what?
Lyle pulls the satchel around to his front and lifts the flap, revealing the handle of the blade. He carefully pulls it out and places it on the top of the anvil.
I need you to tell me everything you can about this blade.
Eden cocks an eyebrow at the dagger and rubs his chin.
I thought you didn't like fancy daggers, big guy. What exactly did you want to know about it?
Where is it from? What's it made of? Do you recognize the maker? Anything that could help me clear Richter's name.
Eden picks up the knife gently and examines it.
Is this the blade that...
It is.
A slight grimace appears in his face. Putting it around in his paws, he studies it with extra care, trying to look at every detail.
What about that castle blacksmith? Didn't he have anything to say about this?
Yeah, but I don't even know why they consulted him in the first place. He only works on special orders and he's been out of the trade for decades.
Lyle wrings his paws, looking at Eden with concern.
On this matter, I trust your judgment more than anyone's.
Eden holds the dagger closer to the light from the furnace and runs a claw across the guard. He then rubs one of his paw pads along the pommel.
What did the old man say?
Said it was a regular blade. Could be purchased from any smith in Erin or Lyre.
He's wrong. It's a very easy mistake to make, though.
Lyle leans forward, placing his paws on the anvil and resting his weight on it.
I knew it.
To anyone else, this would look like a simple rondel dagger. A rapier's best friend.
He points to the sharp tip and holds it in a standard grip.
That's the case with this one. But it's not that simple of a blade. Although thrusting swords became a widely used weapon in Northern Erin, they were created in Lyre. Both kingdoms had many knights and soldiers trained in the art of dueling with such blades. The thing is, ever since trade between the three kingdoms was expertly established, so were ideas.
He places the blade back onto the anvil. The fires of the forge cast a warm glow upon the blade. I'm amused that Eden has not in any way reacted to the fact that this blade is still covered in blood.
Ideas were shared and techniques learned. Eventually, all sort of weapons were being forged all around Tigran. Weapons considered to be foreign were rare and sought after in their homelands. And a dagger like this was definitely forged in Driz.
He nudges the blade across the anvil in Lyle's direction as he says this.
Really?
I've seen one like this, or like it before on the few trips I've taken to Driz. The wavy blade is something you could go off of, but here's the main reason.
He points to the garden pommel.
This isn't gold.
It's not?
That there is pure Erinamite. It's a somewhat rare metal that's similar to gold in quality. Almost as rare as Vekrit, and it's found primarily in the south. Weighs less and it's stronger.
He picks it up and holds it out to Lyle.
This blade is from Driz.
Kadai.
Sorry, what?
Nothing.
Lyle takes the blade from him and gently places it back in his satchel.
Thank you for your help, Adon.
It's no problem at all. I won't even charge you for my time.
Ha ha, very funny. I'll be seeing you, hopefully.
Lyle turns to leave, but Edan stops him.
Hey, Lyle.
Yes?
I, heard other things about that Richter fella.
He isn't, you know. Lyle turns around and leans against the wall behind him.
Adon,
I heard that you're at it again.
that's my business.
What does that mean?
Well, yeah, I was gonna say, like... Are you You know, it seems like it's happening all over again. Everyone's forming mean opinions about it.
Lyle looks up at the ceiling and sighs.
Listen to me for a moment, will ya? I know that they made it difficult for us to be together. Aww. I know that they spread horrible rumors, which were quickly silenced and not forgotten, but...
Lyle starts to feel hot in the face, and he slumps into himself.
I saw the way he looks at you. His eyes held the truth.
Lyle's blush becomes more and more visible as he continues.
Promise me something.
What?
Don't let them do it again.
Lyle stands up straight and looks him in the eyes.
I won't, Adon.
Good. And if there's anything else I can do to help, let me know. I'm still your friend. No matter how much distance you, no matter how much you distance yourself from everyone.
So they were ex-lovers, and this is a all mixed species are bad ever thing, and not a human and wolf thing specifically?
I guess. That's...
Do you think it's because Tigran is like mixed species?
I don't know.
I will say, like,
a sacred thing? I don't know.
I was like laser focused on this guy's conversations when we were revisiting, well, when he had like the town scene earlier, because I was like just trying to pick up if were there any crumbs, or there any hints. There was jack shit. I don't know that plot point was decided when that part was written.
Are you trying to see if whether or not the last time they talked, if there was any hint they were in a relationship?
Yeah, because like Lyle he thinks about Adon a couple times, but it's just purely in like he's a blacksmith. Like it just never crosses his mind.
Yeah, it's a bit strange. I don't totally know what to make of it. Because, yeah, like, that's a very specific bond for them to have. And then just have them wander in. So they were ex-lovers. We have the efficiency of having a scene accomplishing more than one thing, which is always nice. But I'm like... not setting up the stakes firmly and clearly enough at the beginning makes it so we're always kind of in catch-up on... we're always catching up on what it even means and what they're talking about. And at this point, their relationship thing is like... it's also immediately sidelined by a bigger problem, so it's also like, it's hard to imagine why it matters, given everything else that's happening. Like, litigating the relationship drama when you're like, they're going to execute you. You're going to die.
We have other things to worry about.
Yeah, it's like we have other things going on.
I'm really hung up on the like, don't let them do it again, and I'm very like, what does that mean? Like, what specifically? Like, I assume it's something about like, don't let the homophobia happen again, because again, it's the homophobia. Like, that's really how we're taking this.
Yeah, it's like I took it as don't let them stop you again, basically.
That's how I read it.
Okay. Yeah. Because it's just such a like, I guess just like Keith was just saying, is like there's several things we need to do before we let them not do that again. We need to not let them kill him first. Then we can worry about.
I just can't help but think that it's like an Oscar Wilde situation where I'm like, it's either illegal or it's not. If it's not illegal, like, who gives a fuck? Obviously not like obviously homophobia or variations of it and other things are bad, but I'm just like, given their position as castle dwellers, as a fucking a stay-at-home ambassador and the king of the lead of the guard, it's like they're not really that vulnerable to just random bigotry from like peasants or whatever. So it's like,
just do whatever they want.
Yeah, so I'm like, from their station, it's like either they're going to be executed for being gay or not gay-like, or there's no consequences and it's just people being weird and rude, and in which case they literally only care about each other and don't like any of those people. So seems low stakes if it's that. So it's either a huge problem or it's whatever. Lyle walks over to the doorway and Eden lifts the tarp to one side. He rubs the back of his head and looks up at Eden with a concerned and embarrassed gaze.
Thank you, Eden. I'm sorry.
No worries.
Like, sorry for what specifically? That's more my thing. I was just like, how does Eden feel about this? Because it seems like Eden is like kind of got NPC syndrome, where he's just kind of like, well, he's the protagonist. Like, I have no feelings about this. Like,
yeah, it'd be hard for you to see the person you tried with before try again.
Try to help him, or try to ask him to help you prove your new lover innocent.
Yeah, just let me wingman you for your new guy. They step outside into the chilly air, and Eden basks in it, trying to cool off. I'm just like, if he's already faced consequences before and it already ruined his life before, I'm like, then why was he flirting with Richter in the bathhouse? It's him flirting with him in the bathhouse gets weirder every time we sit down and play the game again, and new revelations come out that make it all the more clear he should not have done that and should not be considering doing that without, like, you need like other levels of meet cute to be happening where you build up to the idea of him taking risks, but instead he did it before even confirming that Richter was gay, let alone knowing that there's all these crimes, that it's bad culturally, but also not only is it bad culturally, he was specifically already harmed by it in the past, ambiguously in some way.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because it is really unclear. It's like he still managed to stay at the castle and become the Knight of the Royal Guard.
It didn't harm his station in any way, because he's like the most accomplished guardsman in the history of the kingdom.
It goes without saying, but it's like Raynar is cool, so we're probably safely assuming that he does not share this opinion in any conceivable way.
You do just
totally
assume that because Raynar doesn't seem like he's allowed to have like those kind of flaws. And that's not like an unrequited. It's not like some kind of like unresolved problem between them. Seemingly, it would be nice if he was alive so we could talk to him about any of this stuff. Because, somewhat conveniently, the moment the homophobia type thingy is introduced, Raynar is never seen again. He doesn't have a single line of dialogue after that point. So we never have to. We never get to confront him on any level over this thing about his own kingdom. That is either legally responsible for or culturally responsible for on some level. That's weird.
When I think to the conversation that he had with Adrius had with Lyle, it's similar. Like, I don't even know that Adrius cares about it from that perspective. Adrius is just very like, well, I don't like you specifically, so I'm gonna just tease you about like your sex life. Like, ew.
Yeah. Just imagining how hard dating is in a setting like this, where there's just so many goddamn unique species and you're not allowed to pick anyone besides your exact species.
Yeah.
It's very like the Echo Route 65 type stuff, where it's like, well, trying to find the one other gay person.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a thing diluted by later lines, like Jenna saying, I swear there's something in the water, when the 75th character turns out
everyone
to be
here is gay.
They step outside in the chilly air, and Eden basks in it, trying to cool off. This visit was very productive. A bit too productive in some areas. What does that mean?
I'm honestly glad I was able to help. I wasn't expecting him to come back outside. You're not allowed to leave your room.
You should have leashed by now.
Hopefully everything gets resolved.
I can only hope at this point. I should really stop being a stranger, though. I'll come visit you again soon if things go well.
Hopefully that's not a red flag.
Lyle takes a few steps toward the alley while looking at Eden. Before he can go any further, he crashes into something which causes him to stumble back slightly.
Things are about to not go well.
I was just thinking about Other Bear. So you two can date, huh? That's how this works? Just keeping track. Watch your step, Captain. As Lyle regains his footing, he notices Bjorn has slipped the satchel off his person and is now opening the flap. When he looks back up, what little subtlety he had in his eyes is now completely gone. I knew it. Sneaking off with pieces of evidence, as if you own the bloody investigation. Lyle reaches forward, taking the satchel from Bjorn, who basically lets him have it.
I was not sneaking. You were sneaking.
Now we can contrast.
What are you doing lurking in the alley behind my forge?
Following this reckless fool. Bjorn gestures to Lyle with his large paw, not taking his eyes off him for a moment. Lyle's face becomes flushed, and he grips the satchel at his side. You're coming with me. Lyle goes to walk past him. We'll
speak about this later.
Before he can finish his sentence, Bjorn grabs him by the shoulders and slams him up against the wall. His head hits the wall behind him, and before he can recover, there's another painful blow to his face. He's then shoved back toward the end of the alley, stumbling slightly.
Lyle.
Stay out of this, Idan.
Are they brothers?
I don't know.
Because seeing them side by side at that last moment, I was like, wait, are they brothers?
That's a dangerous assumption when they're the only people that are allowed to have sex. Bjorn had punched him directly in the nose, his fist splattered with blood. Lyle could already taste it in his mouth, the potent metallic flavor running along his tongue.
You bastard! Have you lost your mind?
I could ask the same of you, boy. You think you're completely absolved of all punishment just because you're the captain. It makes me sick. Bjorn already has his paw firmly placed on the grip of his sword. Lyle feels a rage grow inside of him that he hadn't felt in a long time. He slowly raises his arm up behind him and grips the handle of his own blade.
You would draw steel on me?
You've been meddling with this investigation for far too long. You let your emotions get in the way of every decision you make, and it's going to bring this entire trial into chaos. It's lowercase this time.
That's absurd. If anything, that's what I'm trying to prevent, you brute.
It's true, Uncle.
Oh, they are related.
They are related.
Shut your trap. Eden looks like he's about to say something, but he stops himself. He looks over at Lyle, a worried look filling his eyes. See, that's a little more struggle dating anywhere here. It's like, if they're your species, there's like a significant chance they're in your extended family, isn't there?
Oh no.
How the fuck do you... This seems like a really self-defeating model.
What do you plan to do?
Bjorn taps his chin lightly while glaring at Lyle. Teaching you a lesson might be good. You've been a bad dog.
Oh, I don't know about that line. I don't know about that one. Jesus Christ.
Uncle says I've been a bad dog. Oh. Honestly, I think it'd be best if I just killed the Iranian bastard. Then you can go back to thinking with your brain instead of that thing between your legs, like a good captain. Hearing him say this triggers something in Lyle that he's only felt on a few occasions. The purest kind of rage. His body feels like a fire was lit inside it, flowing through his veins, boiling his blood, that scene from the first episode of Beastars with Legoshi.
He was only trying to.
Bjorn whirls around and yells at Idan. Stay out of this, boy. I've already warned you once. Lyle takes his chance to draw his sword, the blade sliding out of the leather sheath with ease. He dashes back while doing this to put some distance between him and Bjorn. Eye streaks!
Yay!
We've got full anime eye streaks, let's go. Once that implies that Lyle's eyes glow, by the way. They've always been glowing this whole time.
He is a wolf, or I guess they refract.
Yeah. It's what every Wolf and Souls games does too. Once his footing is secured, he lowers the sword in front of his body and assumes a plow guard. If there's going to be a fight, he's going to defend himself. Also, a plow is an ice type attack. And since it's Bjorn, there's going to be a fight. Bjorn has already turned his gaze back to Lyle and smirks a sinister grin. Looks like you're the one drawing steel.
Go get help.
I'll go get help against the guard?
The swords, like, in this setting, there's not a lot.
Eden runs off in the direction of the castle.
Actually, he's the blacksmith. That would be kind of bad if it's just like, here's my help, and it's just like the biggest fucking claymore he's got in his shop.
Uh-huh. More of a hunk of iron, really. Or just gun. You plan to hurt me with that pretty thing?
I only mean to defend myself.
Bjorn reaches behind his shoulder and drags the heavy sword off his back. The blade glistens in the light and is twice the size of Lyle's own sword. You're coming with me one way or another.
I'd like to see that happen. You won't be dealing out your own sick idea of justice this time.
Bjorn rushes forward, sword raised and ready to be brought down upon him. Lyle steadies himself and prepares for the hit. Sorry, something occurred to me and it hurts. Lyle... There's so much drama between Lyle and Bjorn that should be explored by now, then, given what we just learned. Because Bjorn is functionally probably the homophobic uncle that ruined his life earlier in life. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, wait, now that you've introduced that world building for the blacksmith and that connection for Edon, between Edon and Bjorn, you're like, wait, that means Lyle and Bjorn have like a lot of shit to work through.
No, it's just that, like all these times that we're talking about the way his gloves look. It's like,
yeah, I'm like that, because this
character has history, he has lore, he has all these things that he's
crazy
experienced.
History with each other. And it makes it deeply ironic. There's like all these moments to spit back at him for the stuff he's saying, because you're like, oh yeah, my emotions are clouding my judgment. With the shit that, with the extent to which you clearly have hated me for like a decade now or something, or who knows how long. It's like, wait a minute, this is the guy who specifically has a grudge against me. It's not just he has a demeanor or he's known for addressing problems in his own fucked up way. It's like, no, he specifically has years of drama with you directly. Lyle steadies himself and prepares for the hit. Bjorn brings the heavy hunk of metal down on Lyle's own blade, but he swiftly parries it and dodges it to the side. The blade slams into the ground with a mighty clang, sparking against the bricks. Lyle's Vekrite sword rings throughout the air as he brings it back around, away from Bjorn. You know, you've never commanded respect. You weren't fit to be captain. Lyle points his blade in Bjorn's direction, defending himself against the next blow.
I never wanted your respect. I never needed it. I demand your loyalty. The same loyalty we all show to this kingdom.
Bjorn scoffs at him, pacing around the wolf with a calm yet savage look in his eyes. Loyalty. What good has it done you? You've been a slave to loyalty your whole life. A small crowd has started to form just outside the alley. This is a weird thing for the King's Guard to say. Nobody dares to get closer, though. Bjorn takes his chance to swing at Lyle again. This time, Lyle brings the sword in front of him, grabbing the end of it with a gloved paw and bracing it against the flat of his blade. Bjorn's sword clashes against Lyle's, sending sparks all over the ladder, throwing him slightly off balance before sending his weight back into the blade and throwing Bjorn's sword to the side of him. Bjorn staggers back and grips his weapon tighter. King Raynar's loyal dog. Always ready to do whatever his masters ask of him. Once again, weird thing for the guard to say.
No, I'm like, what is your criticism here?
You have the same job, just less?
Because then it's like, oh, so do you not like Raynar?
It's like, it seems like you're the murderer or something with all this weird rhetoric you're throwing around. Lyle feels a deep, hot feeling swelling inside of him. The feeling only grows stronger with each second that passes. I think it's technically the same feeling that was already described at the beginning of the scene. He quickly rushes forward, throwing a flurry of blows at the bear, which he manages to barely block. Barely. To an outsider, he's a blur of white fur, thrashing at his opponent with precise strikes. He's a blue and white blur, not a blur of white fur. Just completely read that wrong. Just all of it. Bjorn stumbles and almost falls to his knees before swinging his blade horizontally, forcing Lyle to back off. Through panting breaths, he mocks him again. Yes, you were loyal, but your loyalty ends where the benefits stopped.
What does that mean?
Our new king won't be as forgiving of your little stunts you've been pulling. Angie. I think he's just I think he's claiming that he's no longer being loyal just because he's investigating the murder, basically.
I think, yeah, he's angry because he's saying you were loyal to Raynar, but you're not loyal to the throne because as soon as Adrius, who you don't get along with, is in charge, suddenly you're off doing your own thing.
Yeah.
It's like he's not serving Adrius, he's serving
himself.
Richter, basically.
Even though I think he's still technically following every order. I'm mad. I'm jealous of this side jaw because you've seen me trying to do this in every other drawing.
Yeah, it's a good wolf snarl.
Yeah, animal teeth are weird. But like, it's as somebody with a hyena character, it's more fun to draw the animal teeth than trying to do simplistic things or human teeth. So it's like, but it's wild. You got to figure out how to do this weird dynamic where they have fucking giant back teeth and the tiniest front teeth. It's so far off from human proportions where our teeth are almost approximately the same. Like the biggest ones are maybe twice as big as the smallest ones or something. It's a different planet. They have like they have eye-sized teeth. Lau rushes forward and swings his sword against Bjorn's with a heavy clash. Sparks fly throughout the air as their blades drag across each other with a heavy screeching noise.
You don't know what you're talking about.
Trust me, I do. You see, my loyalty ended in a similar way. Each of them positioned their swords at different angles, one opponent trying to get the advantage over the other. That's what a sword fight is, yes. When Sir Runar... No, not Runar! When Sir Runar died, you were named his successor. I knew this kingdom was going to shit. So I started pulling stunts of my own. Why are you admitting to things? And they called me undisciplined for it. Lyle brings his leg up and kicks into Bjorn as hard as he can, forcing him back. You're a traitorous little bastard. I'll have that human strung up if it's the last thing I do. And you're going to watch. Alright, calm down, Kato. Hearing this causes Lyle to enter a rage like he's never felt before, which is, I guess we're hitting a lot of new records in the last 3 minutes. Savage and wild, but calm and collected all at the same time. You can't keep saying that. You can't keep describing everything as polar opposites. He needs to completely visualize his objective. Killing him isn't his goal here. He has to subdue him somehow. Wrestling him into a tough position is the only way to ensure no blood is spilled in his part. However, it presents a problem. Lyle is the superior duelist by far, but if past training has shown anything, Bjorn should be the better grappler. Switching to this form of fighting gives Bjorn an advantage, and it's the best way to show he was acting in self-defense. He has a chance. Lyle lets out a low growl before lunging at Bjorn, tackling him to the ground. At this moment, he truly looks like the wild animal as he tosses Bjorn's sword to the side with a single swing of his own. The blade clatters to the ground, and Lyle mounts the bear, digging his paws into his wrist with all his strength, pinning him down. He leans in, pressing harder into Bjorn's wrists, baring his teeth.
Like hell you will. All 3 kingdoms will be in the ground before I let you do that.
Bjorn manages to wrench one of his arms out from underneath Lyle's paw, but Lyle already anticipated this. He quickly kicks his paw from the ground and twists around, still holding onto one of Bjorn's arms. The bear reaches around to grab onto one of Lyle's legs, but it's already too late. Lyle has him locked into a vicious armbar. He locks his legs around Bjorn's arm at the shoulder and pulls the appendage as hard as he can.
If you think I'll let you get away with this, you're wrong.
Audible grunts can be heard from the large bear, but Lyle doesn't let up. He needs to figure out his next move quickly. Before he can execute anything, Bjorn is already back on the offensive. The bear slowly lifts his legs around the side of Lyle and positions himself under the wolf's foot.
It's a blessing we were both taught by the same man. He taught me everything I need to know to take you down.
Before Bjorn can escape the grip, Lyle doubles down and pins the bear's head to the ground harder while tightening his hold on Bjorn's arm.
Yield.
In what feels like a split second, Lyle's body is thrown back to the ground as Bjorn twists around and mounts Lyle. Through it all, Lyle's legs are still locked around the bear's body, but they've been forced down to wrapping around Bjorn's waist. Lyle's armor scrapes against the ground, and his cape rips as he slid back towards the wall behind him. The bear looks down at him with a sick and amused expression. I don't. Bjorn then lays a heavy punch into Lyle's face. This is then followed by several more blows. Lyle manages to block a few of them, but after a while it becomes harder. Every blow elicits a low growl from the bear. With each punch, the noises around it become more and more muffled. Then they stop.
How's that help coming to Don? Come on.
Yeah, he's been gone for a while at this point. Thick blood feels like it's drowning the insides of his mouth as he sits there panting. I don't know if you can pant if you're choking on blood. You'd be choking or something. Or gurgling. There's a lot of other sounds.
He's panting yet choking.
Yeah, he's panting. Yeah. There's like, if he's drowning in blood, panting is going to be a challenge. Bjorn gets off him and he's free to catch his breath. His eyes feel swollen and he can't see out of them. He can still hear, but it's slowly fading away. I told you, you're coming with... Is this the ellipses of as you fade out of consciousness, or the ellipses as you are almost pausing to get interrupted by an attack? The last thing his ears pick up is a large bear coughing and wheezing. He's breathing heavily, and there's the sound of footsteps rushing to both of them. The last thing he feels is something heavy falling on top of him. This knocks the wind out of him, and he slowly loses consciousness. It was the pause right before the bear gets hit by something. Cold snowflakes land on the tip of his almost numb nose. You keep changing what the last thing he heard or felt was, because now he's feeling snowflakes. The last thing he thinks, okay, come on. The last thing he thinks is whether Richter's going to be safe. It's perfectly valid to end a blackout on the last thing he something. You don't do you don't do one for every sense. You definitely do one last thing, period. That's and then immediately have to stop. You can't be the last thing he heard, the last thing he felt, and then another thing he felt besides the last thing, and then another thing he thinks.